Hey, welcome to Bluejay Banter, sponsored by the West Pacific Dental Group and Infusion Brewing Company and BluejayBanter.com. I'm Tim Kruger, along with my co-host, Ross Ferrarini. Ross, it sure is nice out there.
Yeah, I walked down here. It was pretty nice.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Are people already talking about maybe golfing later in the week? I'm like, let's slow the roll on that a little bit.
That's a little crazy.
There's still snow out there.
Yeah, it's a little insane, but people are fiends for the golf.
Hey, thanks for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure and hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us out a ton. Boy, have you come for a great show. We're trying out a new feature tonight, which you're going to love. First of all, we're just going to talk about the week that was and the week coming up. We've got a little look ahead to Call Your Shot. We have a winner in Call Your Shot. And then we're going to kind of preview the game coming up Friday against Butler. It's the team has the week off basically until Friday, and kind of weird scheduling. Butler has the same week off. So, usually would have got a huge advantage. They're coming off a triple overtime game. It would be nice if they had to play again Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit about Butler, and then later on we're going to break down a film on the big board back here, which is going to be awesome, and just talk about some of the inbound plays that Mac runs, that people talking, you hear him in the crowd all the time complain about it. And we're going to show you why Sean Miller said Mac's a genius, and especially with his inbound play, and we're going to show you why later on. I haven't had a chance to talk to you. How was doing the game the other night? Good.
Second game of the year I've done with John. Both of them have been pretty carefree, given that we played Central Michigan and then DePaul. Well, I guess I shouldn't say the first half was not that carefree.
Yeah, you're probably at halftime going, you were coming into the game probably thinking, I got to fill a lot of time, and then I was like, oh, no, we got a game to call.
Yeah, things blew open there pretty quickly in the second half. But I give DePaul a lot of credit. I thought they played pretty well in the first half. I mean, I thought they finished really well at the rim, kind of went through contact. They probably played with a little bit more energy than we had, but you can obviously see why they have the record that they have. The wheels really kind of fell off in the second half.
But they're playing much better for them. I mean, they played Marquette tough the other night. Brady, I think, is the guy's coach.
Yeah, Matt Brady. He was the head coach at James Madison for a while there and had some success.
He seems like the guys like to play for him. I mean, they're playing hard, and I think we had Murph on after the game on Saturday night, and he said, I think they're somebody's going to get taken down by them at DePaul because they're, with Matt there now, the players are kind of like grouping together and bonding and so forth. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I could see that.
They move forward.
They certainly want to avoid an 0-20. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
that would be rather embarrassing.
I would think. Great effort by Trey, and Ashworth, I thought, had a great game as well.
He did play well. Steven did play well. I thought Kalk had interesting. I mean, a great stat line. He didn't finish particularly well. A few that he typically does, but obviously shot well from the free throw line. But it's especially nice, I think, at the Pink Out game to have a really, kind of a lesser opponent for Pink Out, because it's always a downer when you have the Pink Out game and then end up losing.
Kind of like homecoming in football. You're the weak opponent.
Yeah. I think was it the year that we played? That Xavier went on that crazy run in the second half at the beginning, and that was the Pink Out game.
Yes.
I mean, God, what a bummer that was.
The game in control. I mean, it was on cruise control, and then they
you don't want those.
Came out, and it was some weird thing. We didn't make a bucket for how many minutes in that game? It's strange.
Yep.
So anyway, we move on. Jay's all alone in second place. There'll be some action coming up tomorrow and Wednesday, especially tomorrow. I think Marquette plays tomorrow, correct? I believe they
play. Is it St. John's?
They've got tough
schedule. Or is it
UConn? Yeah, I think so.
They have a big game tomorrow. I know. Yep.
Yeah. So we may stay in second place by ourselves, or maybe tie with Marquette. One of the two.
I mean, gosh, I hate even admitting this, but it really, I mean, the way UConn's playing, it really kind of seems like everyone's fighting for second place.
You're right. You're right. Now, I don't really believe in this stuff, but there is the thing about peaking too soon, and maybe they start, especially they're going to get into a schedule where I think they play like Butler, DePaul, Georgetown back to back to back, and they probably comes real easy for them, and then their next game's against, I don't know who, Providence or somebody, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, You
Yeah.
know,
I guess I shouldn't say
they lose
that.
a game, and then that could happen.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it feels like they've had a pretty, and I'd have to look at the schedule and I can pull it up, but it feels like they've had a pretty home heavy schedule so far. I mean, obviously they they go to Villanova, and they could have gotten taken down at Villanova.
And they lost to Seton Hall.
And they lost at Seton Hall. I mean, they still have to go to Marquette, and they still have to go to Creighton. I think still have to go to Providence.
Seton Hall's the one who has the schedule flipping around against them because they had not played any of the top teams until Saturday. Now they've got Creighton, Marquette, UConn all on the road. Villanova, they got to play twice.
Marquette's at Villanova tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Villanova's lost 4 in a row, so that's probably not a great time to head to Villanova.
And you know what? I watched most of the game on Saturday, and what a colossal breakdown by Villanova. I mean, really, a really, really bad loss. I mean, their fan base has every right to be upset with the way that thing ended because they completely gave that game to Butler.
Yeah. So the week ahead, let's check in on the women. Ever since they lost to UConn, they've won 6 in a row. They are rolling.
It's pretty darn good.
Probably one of Flan's best teams and best records.
Not to interrupt you really quick, but big one Saturday. UConn at St. John's at the Garden.
Yeah.
That's
going to be
that's going to be a rowdy one.
Yep. The women rolling. Wednesday, big home game. One of their 3 losses was to Marquette, and they take on Marquette 6 p.m. over at Sokol Arena. And then on Sunday, they go on the road to historic Hinkle Fieldhouse, where they take on Butler at a 1 p.m. start on Sunday. So it'd be nice to get those 2 and get a firm grasp on second place in the league. And as we mentioned, the men on FS1, Friday night, 8 p.m. And I discovered on my trip coming up here that we will be in the Atlantic time zone, so that's 2 hours. So
2 hours ahead,
The game will be at 10 o'clock at night, so I may be able to sneak that in.
You're a night owl too, typically. Yeah.
So I may be
those days of us doing post game
will have
and
too much to drink and too much sun, and they'll go to bed, and I'll step and watch Creighton game. Yeah. And that look ahead sponsored by West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Robert Hogan does a fantastic job. He's my dentist. Go to him for anything you need in your dental care. They take care of, they believe their patient deserves the best care possible, and they make an effort to make sure you always feel welcome and at ease. Great staff, compassionate, always look out for your total dental health, and always get your input on what they need done. So today, check them out, West Pacific Dental Group. Thanks, Dr. Hogan, for sponsoring here longtime sponsor on Bluejay Banter. We were talking about Butler Friday night. So Pierre Brooks, 43% from 3 for him. They haven't had a 3-point shooter. I guess who was the foreign kid they had last?
Simon Lucasius.
Yeah,
he was pretty good. Plays in Cincinnati now.
Yeah, he was pretty good 3-point shooter. But they really haven't had a lot of them. They had that one really highly recruited guard, and he just never panned out.
They've had a lot of transfers out of there the past number of years.
Right. And, of course, the player most Creighton fans, will recognize will be Posh Alexander.
Right.
The games I've watched, Posh has not looked as dynamic as he was against St. John's. Would you be fair from the games you've seen?
I still like what he brings to the table. Obviously, he's not picking up, all over the court like he was at St. John's and that chaotic Mike Anderson type style. But he's still, I still see him get after guys, guarding one-on-one. Offensively, he's fine. He doesn't, he's not really a threat to shoot. But, they've got, kind of these top 4 guys: Pierre Brooks, Jamal Telfort, DJ Davis, and Posh Alexander. It's a pretty decent starting 5, kind of core 4 guys that they've got. They bring a freshman kid off the bench. I think he was Mr. Indiana. If he wasn't Mr. Indiana, he was, one of the top high school recruits kind of in that area. So, they've got a decent roster here. This is a team that really wasn't expected to do much, at the beginning of the season, certainly with, the preseason poll. But, Thad Matta's got them playing at a decently high level.
They're very competitive.
Here.
They just probably haven't gotten as many wins as they maybe should have or could have,
Right.
They've lost a lot of close games.
Yeah, so. They have. They've lost some close games. They were able to, like I said, they were able to steal one, obviously, Saturday against Villanova. So, I'll be interested to, I'll be interested to see, what the line will be come Friday, but it's certainly a game that I expect, we should win.
And especially when we've had a little bit of a break. Because I think of all the guys that, Trey, even after the triple overtime games, I feel great. It was fine. And he looked great. But it seems to me Baylor is wearing a little bit. He needs to, maybe get a little break here. He's been on the floor.
He told us post-game he was feeling great.
I know, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot of minutes.
He looked a little tired to me.
He's been playing a lot of minutes. Yeah. I expect it to be a relatively close game, at least for a while there. I mean, I certainly don't think it's a game that we can, roll in there and just expect to win just by showing up. I mean, they've got some talented guys here, so they're
absolutely.
They're at this point that this Butler team, if you think about it realistically, they're probably fighting to stay out of Wednesday night play-in. I mean, they're trying to potentially get 4 or 5. I mean, I think as it stands right now, and if I were my educated guess on where things shake out, those 4 and 5 spots are gonna be wide open between about 6 teams there.
You think that many?
Maybe 5. The more I think about it, if I don't know.
UConn, Marquette, and then those next spots after that. Right?
No, I'm talking about just the 4 and the 5 spot. I think. Okay. I think
but the 4 and the 5. So after those.
Yes.
Three,
yes, correct. After those 3, the more I think about it, maybe I don't know how good I feel about Villanova playing into that 4 or 5 game. But to me, then it becomes Butler, Providence, Seton Hall, despite the fact they've lost a few, and St. John's.
Yeah, no, they've lost a few with Richmond out too, so that makes a difference.
I'm not really sure what's going on there.
But again, like I said, like we talked about, they've got a murderer's row coming up here. They've got a lot of tough games yet to go on the road, so I expect them to tack up 3 or 4 more losses at minimum, just by virtue of looking at their schedule.
All right, so if we're thinking realistically, DePaul 11. Georgetown probably 10.
Yep.
If you were a betting man, who would you say at this?
Butler.
It was going to be 9. Do you think Butler will end up 9?
They just don't have enough wins. They start off 1 and 4, and that's going to be tough for them to come back from.
Okay. Where are they sitting at now? 3 and 4 or 3 and 5?
So, but they've had some home games, and now they're going to be heading on the road and so forth too. And I think they've got to go to like UConn yet. And so forth. So
Xavier was the other team.
Butler's
worked themselves to 5 and 5. Villanova and Xavier sit at 4 and 5. Then there's a steep drop off.
Butler's done 5 and 5. Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Providence 5 and 4. St. John's 5 and 4. Seton Hall 6 and 4.
They've got to go on the road, and they've got some tough games coming up because they just had Butler DePaul or Georgetown. They just played them.
Well, what'd you think of Xavier yesterday? I mean, that was.
Made us looking by 14.
Oh my goodness.
Made us looking pretty good, wasn't it? Lose by 14.
I mean, this UConn team. I mean, I've said it before. This UConn team is outside of another team that plays tonight. I think at 8 on ESPN, Houston. I mean, UConn is the best team I've seen, top to bottom. Obviously, Purdue deserves to be in that conversation with those. But then another team that interesting. I don't think many people were expecting this. I think probably that 4th team to me is North Carolina.
Yeah. No doubt.
I think those.
My 4th number 1
I think those 4 are a cut above everybody else, in my personal opinion.
Yep.
But anyways,
Kansas and Arizona kind of dropped into that next tier with
Wisconsin, Tennessee. Yep.
Tennessee's still to me is kind of the sleeper there.
Yeah.
They lost a few games, but they played such a tough schedule.
And Kentucky.
Yeah.
They play each other Saturday.
Kentucky I'm just not a believer in them.
Do you see some of the games we got Saturday?
Yeah.
Tennessee, Kentucky, Duke, Carolina.
Big one in the Big 12, isn't it?
Iowa State at Baylor.
Kansas,
Houston. Yep.
Yeah. Crazy lineup. I might have to get off the beach and watch basketball.
I would.
You know what? It's my wife's birthday.
That's probably not gonna fly.
Hey, but so remember, Posh Alexander, he's averaging 11 points a game. He's 2 to 1 on assists to turnovers. But over the last 8 games, Steven's like 3.5 to 1. So he's really.
Yeah, Steven had a killer assist to turnover ratio, and then he actually had, I think, 3 Saturday.
Last game,
But he's still. I can't say enough good things about Steve in the past few weeks. I think he's really, really come on and been a really huge asset for this team.
You know what we were watching? Sitting with a friend of mine during the game on Saturday. When he shoots a three, all you got to do is look at his rotation in the first 3 feet of his rotation on a shot. Like we watched the ones he made had that perfect rotation, just like his free throws. The other ones looked a little bit like knuckleballs, like they came off his hand wrong, or he rushed them, or whatever. Yeah, I would really love to talk to him if he's like, yeah, I've really got to get focused in on my technique. I just wonder, but yeah, those threes are hitting. I mean, they didn't hit rim. I mean, they were all net.
Right. Yeah, he shot the ball. I thought he shot the ball with a lot of confidence Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just like, again, we talked about when the other team gets a technical, it's 2 points for us. It's not like, maybe it's 2 points.
Right.
like you're in trouble. You're going to lose 2 points if you get a technical.
Yep.
But anyway, that game is at 8 p.m. on Friday on FS1. There was only 250 tickets left just a couple days ago, so I bet you it'll be a sellout by the time game time rolls around.
Yeah.
And so that's Opponent Preview. It's sponsored by BluejayBanter.com for all your complete Creighton news, the best message board around. Go to BluejayBanter.com. We give you updates on practice, player updates, recruiting, obviously, being part of the Rivals Network. So check them out today. Go to BluejayBanter.com. You'll be glad you did. And soon, we've got an announcement. Bluejay Banter is partnering with a company where I think for all Creighton fans, it'll be awesome. All your Creighton news will be in one location. So keep an eye out for that. We'll announce that in the next week or so. We have this little thing called I and Zach did it. And I think D. Marinas put one up, and I think maybe Josh did too, called Shoot Your Shot.
Call your shot.
Call your shot. I'm sorry, shoot your shot, whatever. Zach hit one. He said there would be a top 10 game, attendance-wise, and Saturday was number 9.
Yeah.
So he nailed
good call.
it.
Very good call.
Zach, all the way from Portland, Oregon. So nice job, Zach.
I would imagine Friday's a pretty darn good crowd, too.
Friday night, 8 o'clock should be.
Should be a good, really good one.
That's wheelhouse for a lot of people,
I agree.
right?
Yep. I think that should be a really good crowd.
There's not a lot of kid stuff going on unless you have a high school team playing.
You know how I can get with the crowd. I will be extremely disappointed if this isn't one of the top crowds of the year.
Yeah.
But I've got faith. I've got faith. Friday, 8 p.m., I've got faith.
Where do you sit on, there's been a lot of debate over the noise factor lately.
Well, listen, this is nothing new. Tim, how long have I been saying this? This is nothing new. We have great attendance every single game for the most part. Like that's a given. That's across the board. How rowdy the atmosphere is we get maybe a really, really, really great, loud, rowdy atmosphere 3 times a year.
And we know UConn will be one of them.
It's usually UConn, Marquette
will be another one.
And if Villanova is good, it's usually the third.
And I think the Xavier crowd was very good.
Xavier, yeah.
That was a very good crowd?
Yep.
The other night?
Xavier's decent, yeah.
That was a very good crowd. Here's where I kind of bristle, and I'm glad somebody on our message board let the other posters kind of have it. And that is, we got a poster sitting on the club side about halfway up who pays a lot of money for those seats. And he goes, look, I have just as much right to be there as you guys in the upper deck screaming and yelling. Okay? I have just as much right to be in that seat. I cheer. I don't go crazy. I'm not on my feet the whole game, but I'm still cheering. And they're kind of characterizing everybody that sits over there. We need to get rid of those people and have a bigger, that's wrong.
And that's not accurate too, because there's a lot of people in the lower bowl that get really active.
Yes. And the other thing he posted was, I hope tonight, it was before the DePaul game, he goes, I hope I'm not going to get scolded if I have to leave early. Like, his point was, we shouldn't be scolding anybody. There's reasons why people have to leave. If they want to leave early, that's their right. Is it something I would do? No. Is it something a lot of people would do? No. Is it something that some people get upset about? Yeah, but I mean, when it's a 20-point game.
Well, I think people have the issue when they see people leaving in droves and it's a close game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. That's just a fact.
Now, some people, what you got to take into consideration, I say this all the time, some people that sit way down in the lower bowl go up and try and watch from above so they can get out decent.
I get it, but my thing is like we are a big time program. Mac has turned this thing into a machine. We need to have really elite crowds in Big East play, especially during close games. Like, to me, this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. But
No.
to me, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general. Yeah. To me, we need to have everybody still invested in the game with 2 minutes left. If it's a 4-point game, if it's a 2.6-point game, whatever the case might be. I mean, are we really going to, like, is getting out of the entire kind of CHI lexicon downtown, is getting out 10 minutes early, is that really, see, that's what I'm saying. Is that really going to,
it's something I don't ever get. I just don't ever get it.
So I get why people are upset with that, because it's the same thing. I've been annoyed at that for years now. But I do agree with you in the sense that, like, in the poster of, like, yes, 100% have a right to be there. And
his post was, look, if I don't pay my $20,000, you people aren't enjoying this, what we got, which is a valid point. So be happy I'm there.
And not everybody, yeah, I see the same sort of discourse on social media too. And listen, not every single person in the lower bowl is leaving at that 2-minute mark.
No,
there are some people in the lower bowl that are very invested.
I'm paying that money where you would not, toward NIL and whatever else. I'm paying that money so we have these nice things, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
So be happy that I'm part of this program. Don't treat me as a cast off.
Yeah.
And of course, some guy came back and goes, I don't care. You got it. Well, you're not going to win then,
I can't win.
All right, so we're going to go, we're going to move on. We are going to move on to our player breakdown segment, and it's sponsored by Infusion Brewing Company. Tremendous sponsors. They've got tremendous products over there right now. The chocolate cherry vanilla bean, 2 great locations, Southwest Omaha at 6271 South 118th Street, and original location in Benson on 6115 Maple. They obviously are the producers of the fine Let It Fly beers and the cool pink cans for the Let It Fly beers.
Those are good.
Infusion, they gave Jerry and I a couple to slug down the post game the other night for celebrating
our victory against DePaul.
Celebrating the pink out too, which by the way was awesome again. By the way,
they do a fantastic job with the pink out. It's really, John and I were talking about it on the broadcast. It's really kind of amazing, the first couple of years when Matt came in and what he wanted to do with that, and then what it's morphed into is really kind of an incredible deal, because it wasn't, I'm trying to think back. We didn't have, the pink, and there was no pink on the jerseys. There was none of that. I mean, we wore a normal jersey. I think they gave us pink shoes, I believe. But it's obviously turned into a heck of a deal and a heck of a fundraising deal for the university.
And we want to thank Infusion too for the money that they go through doing the pink cans. I mean, that's awesome. Like, there were people.
They look great.
There were people here taking pictures of those, standing in front of the big display of them they had here.
Yep.
And they're great looking cans. So that's Infusion Brewing. We're so thankful that they're a great sponsor of Bluejay Banter. So thanks to them. Go check them out. Great product. All right. It is time for our player breakdown. We're going to use the big board for the first time. This is pretty awesome.
This is nice. Sorry. Oops.
Oh, you don't want to unplug yourself, Ross. Don't
no,
do that.
That's not good.
Kenny doesn't do that on the NBA. So I just wanted to show you. So after the game, if you didn't hear, Sean Miller went off in the press conference about, Mac is a genius offensively, but he doesn't get enough credit for the inbound plays he runs. And we were ready for them. We'd studied them. We worked on them hard. And yet, he did little tweaks that still got them easy buckets. And he was just, he couldn't stop praising Mac enough. And so we thought we'd pull one up. And he mentioned this play, the one where Baylor got open. And I just wanted to kind of show it because so often I'm sitting in the stands and I'm hearing, oh, stupid Mac, all he does is lob it into Kalkbrenner, and I'm just like, dude, this is part of a play. Like, yeah, I know in junior high you both sat on the low block and you screened each other and a guy got the ball underneath the basket and laid it in. That doesn't happen in Division I, okay? So you got to run different plays, and the fact that Sean Miller, one of the best coaches in the country, is giving Mac props for his inbounds play says something. So go ahead and run it, Mac. So I've got this in slow motion for us. Baylor's inbounding it, obviously. We got Farabello on the far side over there, and this is going to get lobbed into Kalk. Now, the first thing you want to notice is Farabello is going to clear out that side. So he's going to come across, and it's probably, you know, they're probably looking at it like there's going to be a back door here, right? You know, potentially, and so they're paying attention to that. Now, watch Isaac Trout. He's going to come up, and he's going to look for the basketball. That's the first thing he's looking for. And then he kind of fakes like he's going to go screen this guy. So his defender is worried about a couple things, him getting the ball and coming over and setting this screen. He's probably going to have to switch off of that.
It's a back screen here. By
so then Isaac goes back, and watch what happens. You can see Baylor's defender
he
very
slips.
close.
Yeah, he doesn't even set one.
Baylor just rubs off him, and that little bit of a rub creates separation, causes him to actually grab his jersey, which they didn't call. And now Baylor's got a 3-foot range. Now this guy's in trouble, right? So he gets here, and all of a sudden he realizes, oh, God, Kalk's going to screen me.
And he goes under.
Yeah. So he goes under the screen. And probably, you know, he had no chance to go over the screen. And Baylor shoots this wide open 3 and drains it. And then he comes out late. Like, I wouldn't even come out late there. That was a possible foul. But watch what happens here. Because the postman had to play off Kalk right there because of the screen, he couldn't get a body on Kalk right away. And watch if this ball doesn't go in. Watch Kalk shoot to the basket. If that ball comes off the front of the rim, it's all Ryan's. He's probably going to stuff it back. So just an example of a beautiful play, and then Ashworth runs out the floor with a fist pump, by the way. But that just shows you, like, you know, fans would be like, well, you know, he just lobbed into Kalk. Yeah, but there was a play design here, and it was well run especially by Isaac, pulling his guy up and then running hard, pushing his guy back into Baylor's guarding position and rubbing off that guy.
So that's something you're hearing. People are annoyed of the...
Oh, I've heard it for years. Oh, Mac runs the worst inbounds plays. They don't, you know, and they're thinking of junior high where the two guys on the box screen each other and a guy stands underneath the basket and gets the ball. That doesn't happen in D1, okay? He ran a kind of a similar play later in the half where Baylor scooped around and caught one in the far corner and nailed it. And as you can see, it's 58-51 at this point. And I think that's what Miller was ticked about. Like, we had kind of control of that game then with 11 minutes to go.
Big 3 gets it to 4.
Yep. Then we got it to 2, and then the technical came, I think, shortly after that, and we were able to push it out from there on out.
Yeah. I think you're saying most fans are just expecting a simple screen into
they're
lead to an easy layup.
When they say he doesn't run good inbounds plays, they're expecting a pass and a guy laying it in.
Right, correct. Yeah.
But that's not going to happen.
It's not, yeah.
And you know, there's just a lot of little things like Farabello pulling his guy away from here so this guy couldn't go over and help Baylor. You know, they're all, you know, it's all synchronized, and fans don't, you know, too much going on during a game to even think about stuff like that happen so fast. But when you break it down, you see all the little things they work on every day. I go to practice and you see this stuff, and you're like, when you're seeing the walkthroughs, you're like, okay, they're just kind of walking through. Yeah, but they're getting their bodies trained to know, minds trained to know, okay, I got to be here, I got to be there. And Ross, obviously, you dealt with that.
Yeah, he's elite at you know, the just the sheer amount of set plays that they have in their playbook and the different wrinkles that they can put in. I think Sean Miller mentioned that, you know, you can think something's coming, and it's really kind of the same base of the play, but, you know, throughout the past, you know, few days leading up to practice, Mac has maybe put in a couple of different wrinkles, and it's hard to guard. It's really hard to guard. So, you know, you see some of these teams, if you're watching some of these teams, because there's a lot of them in college basketball that just, they don't have a ton of structure in what they do and make themselves really easy to guard. And this is, this team is the complete opposite of that.
So, thanks for watching that. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got to see a little bit of what they do on our big screen back here. This thing's awesome, by the way. And we won't have a show next week, but in 2 weeks we'll have another show, and we'll probably pull up another play from a game and take a look at something that they run maybe offensively or defensively and how it, in a big point in the game, cut that 7-4. I mean, those games I watch, like 7-4 or 6-3. I mean, those buckets are so huge,
No doubt.
To turn the game around.
Big momentum.
Hey, thanks for watching. Next time Ross and I will, run up here like Kenny does on the NBA. But thanks for watching. Make sure hit that subscribe button, and remember Friday night, Butler Creighton 8 o'clock. See you then.